I just texted her.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting for Monday, May the 17th, 2021. This is Trustee Don Danko as chair of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with our land acknowledgement. The Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board acknowledges our presence on ancestral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee Confederacy land as determined by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty. The intent of this agreement is for all nations sharing this territory to do so responsibly, respectfully, and sustainably in perpetuity. We respect the long-standing relationships with the local Indigenous communities and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the Six Nations of the Grand River. At this time, we will play O Canada. Okay, we'll move to item 3. That is our meeting roll call. I'll just go through. If you can let me know if you're on the line. Trustee Archer?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Bingham?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Buck?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Deese?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Galindo?
Here.
Thank you. Trustee Johnstone?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Miller?
Present. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Mulholland?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Paikin-Miller?
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Tutt?
Present. Thank you.
Thank you. Student Trustee Hessler?
Present.
Thank you. Student Trustee Zakar?
Present.
Thank you. And Sigawa-Nagalva.Segi sent regrets for this evening. I'll just remind everyone as we're on a virtual call to be on mute unless you're speaking. I'll do a roll call for any action items. Otherwise, I'll ask you to unmute yourself and put yourself on the speakers list if you would like to ask a question or speak. I will also go to a negative vote and ask if anyone is opposed to an item. Okay, let's move along then to the approval of the agenda. I'll ask Trustee Archer to move that and Trustee Bingham to second it. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, is anyone opposed to approving the agenda? Hearing none, that passes. Item 5, are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Hearing none. Item 6 is confirmation of the minutes from April 19th and April 26th, 2021. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none. Item 7 is correspondence. You'll note that we have 2 items of correspondence in our package, one regarding remote learning and one regarding the student census. Are there any questions from trustees for clarification? And I would be looking for a motion to receive and file. If I could assign people, Trustee Deeth, seconded by Trustee Galindo. I do have 2 questions for staff, just for clarification. The first actually maybe is just clarification for trustees. So for correspondence A, there was feedback in that correspondence, and it was relating to a letter that we were writing to the ministry regarding online learning resources for spec ed students. Some of that feedback was incorporated into the letter to the ministry. For item B, I just had a question to the director. The item was relating to the student census, which has been operationalized. Was there the opportunity for staff to respond to the questions in that correspondence?
So through the chair, there was an opportunity through our equity department and human rights staff to meet with the individual and other members of the equity network of Dundas to address some of their concerns. So that opportunity was provided through email and an opportunity to meet. So there was an opportunity to discuss those questions through the chair.
Thank you. And are there any further questions from trustees or student trustees?
Trustee Johnstone, I think my questions were, addressed through the last, through my colleague who just spoke. I just wanted to ensure that there would be proper follow-up. I guess with that, so noting that there has been already verbal communication with the Equity Network Dundas, will we also be providing, I guess what my question would be is pending the board motion to file and receive, I assume that would mean that we would have a written correspondence where we would also verify in writing to address the questions that they sought clarification to in their letter. Thank you.
So I can perhaps respond to that as chair. Our process, if we receive and file, is we receive and file. So it would require a motion if we were to provide a written response to correspondence. That isn't our standard practice. Does that answer your question, Trustee Johnstone?
I guess I'm looking then for confirmation with, because they have written to the board. Were they satisfied with the verbal follow-up, or are they anticipating a written follow-up as well? Thank you.
So we can take that away as a question for clarification, and through the trustee officer, communicate with the Equity Network of Dundas to see if they received a follow-up that answered their questions. Is that what you're asking for?
I guess, yes. Just if the group is expecting written correspondence, then it should be provided. So I will await for further clarification from the trustee officer. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions?
Just through the chair, the director, I just want to make sure I'm clear about what direction is being provided or not, and just to provide clarification.
Please go ahead.
When the student census did engage, the Equity Network of Dundas, certain individuals did reach out to Johanna Tate, our research department, and Sally Langdon, and our Equity Assistant Principal, Michelle Rodney-Bertolis, to provide an opportunity to meet with their concerns. I believe some members of the N group did take the opportunity. Others didn't, and were corresponding through email. So as you can see through the correspondence, the question of which I engage with my team is around, this is highly sensitive around student census data, historically what's been done with data. So what we'll have to do as board staff is the sensitivity of this data is how we use this data to actually improve outcomes and to address the patterns that are emerging in this piece. And what you see from this citizen, like others, are questioning around the trust of board staff and HWDSB to use this data in a way that will approve outcomes and not further segregate or label students. So that's the concern. We take that concern seriously, and opportunities were provided to discuss, but the trust will need to be filled once the data collection is gathered, the analysis is done, and the presentation back to the board and the broader community in the fall of 2021. So those opportunities have been provided by the experts on our staff through the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Director. And are there any further questions from trustees or student trustees? Hearing none, to the motion to receive and file the 2 items of correspondence, is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. We'll move along to reports from Trustee Special Committees. Item 8 is our Finance and Facilities report. We'll start with the April 22nd report, and I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Galindo to bring the report.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm bringing forward the committee report for Finance and Facilities dated April 22nd. We had a significant action item that was discussed at this committee with regards to our capital priority project funding for the upcoming school year, 2021. As trustees know, capital priorities meet Ministry of Education business case criteria as identified in Memorandum 2021-B05. The Capital Priorities Program provides school boards with an opportunity to identify and address their most urgent pupil accommodation needs, including the following categories, accommodation pressures, replacing schools in poor conditions, supporting past consolidation decisions, providing facilities for French language rights holders in underserved areas, and creating new licensed child care spaces in schools. The ministry will assess all proposed projects using project-specific qualitative and quantitative measures depending upon the category of the project. Staff are currently working to identify the need for child care space in 3 of the proposed project locations, and the deadline for submission is, of course, May 21st, 2021. So on the recommendation on the motion of Alex Johnstone, the Finance and Facilities Committee recommends that the board approve the 2021 capital priority projects as amended. Now, there is an appendix that trustees can look at in 8-3 that shows you the list of priority projects in order. They are the new school site at Rousseau, a new school site at Sherwood, new school site at SGM Hub, new school at the Waterdown Bay site, and a new school in Nash, Upper Stony Creek, as amended because number 6 on the list is the Rosedale Gym, which was moved up by committee members, which is why the motion is amended. Following the Rosedale Gym reno, we have 2 porta packs, 1 in Eastville, 1 at Shannon Crustachan, and then 2 more gym renos, Queensville and Billy Green, accordingly. We had a few monitoring items on the agenda for the April 22nd meeting. One was with regards to the long-term facility master plan facility assessment update. Since 2015, the long-term facility master plan has included a section dedicated to Facility Condition Index, also known as FCI, which is a reporting tool for all schools in the inventory. FCI values are calculated by a third party on behalf of all school boards by assessing buildings approximately every 5 years. FCI does not account for items such as accessibility, asbestos, program updates, and safe schools initiatives. FCI is, however, a tool that aids facility management staff in identifying major renewal needs and allows staff to monitor those items as they reach the end of their life cycle. It is important to know that the building's FCI value is not a holistic reflection of the building's overall renewal needs, but a snapshot in time of the building condition based on a 5-year renewal need. FCI does not factor in the age of a building or building components, but rather the observed remaining life of that building component. So in an effort to provide a more comprehensive representation of HWDSB buildings inventory, staff developed a 4-year assessment, a 4-category assessment, I should say, the intent is to provide a more rounded approach to determining the building conditions, taking into consideration not only building renewal needs, but also aligning the condition of HWDSB facilities to include inclusiveness and community voice. So the new categories are now included as such. First is FCI, which now takes into account 50% of the evaluation. Then we have equity and accessibility, which takes into account 25% of the evaluation. We have alignment to benchmark strategies, covering 15%, and consultation, or community consultation, which takes up about 10% of the overall evaluation. In the HWDSB Long-Term Facilities Master Plan, each facility previously fell into one of four categories: good, fair, average, or poor, based on the FCI value alone. Staff are now assigning each facility into one of three categories: good, fair, or poor, based on the four categories assessed above, and the new categories are defined in the report itself. Through the use of the new assessment categories and aligning FCI with industry data, staff are confident that the evaluation of HWDSB building facilities now represents a more complete snapshot of the overall condition. Finally, for this one, April 22nd, we also had a discussion on budget development for the upcoming school year. Staff provided a brief overview of revenues and expenses in special education areas. This information was shared based on preliminary calculations, as staff were waiting for ministry to release the GSN to prepare the final budget estimates. Staff also provided an overview of revenues and expenses in English as a second language and English literacy development areas. This funding is projected to decrease significantly due to reduction in the number of students moving to Canada from non-English speaking countries as a result of the pandemic. That being said, we've also since received updated information. But with that, I bring the action item as a motion to the table. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So moving to approve the report from April 22nd for Finance and Facilities. For a seconder, I'll assign Trustee Buck, and I'll go through the roll call so it gives people an opportunity to ask any questions or make comments. I'm going to start at the top, in reverse order. Student trustees, I'll put you at the end of the list if that's okay. And I'll start with Trustee Tutt. Any comments or questions?
No comments or questions, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Paikin-Miller? Trustee Paikin-Miller?
I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. No questions and no comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Mulholland?
No questions.
Thank you. Trustee Miller?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Johnstone?
No questions. Everything had previously been stated. I guess I'll just make the quick comment that I appreciate trustees' support for the amended, the amended order of the facilities. Priority projects for capital repair, and just noting that Rosedale had been pushed up the list in light of the communications that we've received from the community and school council, stating their concerns that their school has been under renovation for several years, and the challenges and difficulties that has placed. So I certainly appreciate previously the support of Finance and Facilities, and currently the support of the board as a whole. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Dees?
No questions. My only comment is, I did mention this in the Finance and Facilities meeting, but I do appreciate the Long-Term Facilities Master Plan Facility Assessment Update. It is much more comprehensive, much clearer, and I think much more understanding, because I know in the past there's been confusion around it because there was two separate ones, and I think this one provides much more information, and so I appreciate, again, all the work that staff have done to create this new assessment tool. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Buck?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Bingham?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Archer?
Nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Student Trustee Zakar?
No questions.
Thank you. Student Trustee Hessler?
No questions, no comments.
Thank you. And so to the action item to approve the report from April 22nd, is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, that passes, and we will move along to the report from May 6th. I'll turn it back to the Vice Chair.
Thank you. Through the Chair, it's a good follow-up. We had one item on the agenda, which was the monitoring update on the upcoming school year budget. Staff advised that the GSN and CPF was released on May 4th. The technical papers and education financial information system forms were also released on that date, which will allow staff to accurately calculate the GSN. Staff are in the process of calculating the GSN and will bring further information back to the committee. As the information presented previously represented a worst-case scenario, the board is in a position to add back some expenditures and staff that had been previously reduced. Some highlights include the fact that the ESL grant will receive on mitigation funding. There will be additional COVID funding for the upcoming school year to be assumed for the first half of the year only, and boards will be eligible to use up to 2% of their operating allocation and reserves. Trustees briefly discussed the use of COVID funding and the use of reserves. So with that, on the motion of Trustee Danko, Finance and Facilities Committee requests that staff bring back scenarios using COVID funding and up to 2% of our operating budget from reserves to lower elementary class sizes for the 2021-22 school year to promote distancing and learning recovery, and to include scenarios that would not result in a system reorganization mid-year if the ministry funding changes. So I'll submit that respectfully with a motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And for this report, moved by Trustee Galindo to receive, and I'll have that seconded by Trustee Johnstone. And note, this is a monitoring item. This is a request made at the Finance and Facilities level, so it doesn't need board approval for the motion. So I'll open it up to questions. Can you unmute yourself and let me know if you have a question would like to be put on the speakers list?
Trustee Johnstone?
Okay. Trustee Johnstone, does anyone else want to be on the speakers list?
Trustee Miller, please. Thank you.
Okay. So Trustee Johnstone, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just wanted to comment to the rest of the board and just to the public as well that the follow-up questions that are or options that staff are being asked to gather are extremely important as we move towards planning for the upcoming school year, looking to close gaps with regards to student learning and achievement, but also to ensure that we have as few disruptions as possible as we lead into the new school year. So I guess recognizing the learnings that we had from this past school year, and also looking to ensure that our board is taking a proactive leadership role when it comes to ensuring that we are providing spacing between students through smaller class sizes. Noted with that, some of the difficulties that were discussed during the Finance and Facilities meeting is that with the new budget or GSNs that have come forward, that the funding was only approved for half of the year for, COVID type funding. And with the ministry stating that they would provide boards with additional approval to go into reserves later in the school year. That becomes extremely difficult when we're trying to plan. So, of course, when we go into planning, we do not do it for a half year. We do it for the full year ahead. And so noting that the ministry's request to basically to pinch pennies and to try and be fiscally responsible actually creates significant challenges for school boards as we are trying to plan for not only recovering, planning a recovery budget and recovery planning for students' learning and achievement, but also when it comes to student safety and looking to reduce class sizes, boards need to be able to plan for the full year ahead. We hire based on a full year, and we plan programming based on a full year, not a half year. So with that, I just wanted to note those challenges to our colleagues, that was some of the discussion that took place at Finance and Facilities, at our last Finance and Facilities meeting, and to note how crucial the questions and feedback is that our board is requesting so that we can effectively plan for the school year to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnstone. Trustee Miller?
Yes, thank you, Indy, the Chair. Just want to echo some of the previous comments made. I appreciate very much the discussion at Finance and Facilities and the direction from that committee to staff to sort of start giving us a better sense of what September is going to look like, what next year is going to look like, what recovery we need to become to just start planning for. It is good news to hear that there will be, additional COVID funding, but I am concerned about the potential for this to fall on school boards yet again, for the costs of bridging our supports for students, our the real, very, very real education gaps that we are going to see once we are able to be back in the traditional school model full time. We know that students and their families are struggling. We know that our staff is struggling, and as much as I'm very excited to hear how we can be proactive and thinking ahead of what we can do next year. I really do feel that this government needs to not, this ministry needs to not always direct us to use our reserves. This isn't what our reserves are for, and as Trustee Johnstone just mentioned, we also can't be thinking of half-year plans either when we have been in this global pandemic for well over a year, and we've had several disruptions to our school years and our school supports. So I thank staff in advance for the work that they're going to be doing for us. And again, thank you to the committee for bringing this up, but I'm still at a loss how the answer seems to always be us dipping into our reserves to bridge what really needs to be ministry funds, ministry support, and ministry direction here. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Miller. Any further questions from trustees or student trustees? If you can unmute yourself and let me know. Hearing none, any comments I was planning to make, I think, have already been stated, but I just want to, again, reiterate the importance of budgeting for learning recovery next year and making sure that we are providing the supports for our students that they need coming out of this incredibly challenging year, and I appreciate that staff have been working on that already, and we have some opportunities ahead of us with the GSN, with the EPIS forms, and with the PPF announcements to date. So at this time, to the motion to receive the report from May 6th for Finance and Facilities, is anyone opposed? Hearing none, that passes, and we'll move to item 9, the Human Resources Committee report from April 20th, 2021. I'll turn that over to Trustee Deese.
Thank you, and through the chair, there was just one information item on the agenda, which was the employee attendance monitoring report. We received an update for the period from September 1st, 2020 to March 31st, 2021. There has been an increase of 2.51 days overall for combined personal illness days and COVID-19 related absences for this period compared to the same period in 2019-20. And of note that is COVID-19 has directly impacted this increase as these absences account for about 0.46 days. Secondly, as part of this is an overview of the staff redeployment process was provided. And from that, on average, between March 1st, 2021 and April 9th, 2021, the board redeployed between 8 to 10 system staff daily to support our elementary school, which is a lot of work. And then finally, the employee support and wellness continues to support staff with return to work planning and accommodation, as well as with COVID-19 related absences. And with that, I will move the report. Thank you.
Thank you. So a motion to receive the Human Resources report, seconded by Trustee Miller. Again, this is a monitoring item, so I'll turn to trustees. If you'd like to speak or ask a question, can you please unmute yourself, and I'll add you to the speakers list. Hearing none, is anyone opposed to receiving the the Human Resources report? Okay, hearing none, that passes. We'll move along to reports from legislated committees. Item 10 is our Special Education Advisory Committee report from April 28th, 2021. Trustee Johnstone, can you bring forward the report?
Yes, just one moment. So for the report for April 28th, trustees will note there are, three information items. So with that, there was a members update provided. So I brought forward information with regards to what the board, current activities that the board was engaged in. Local associations brought forward updates. So, for example, drive-through event for World Autism Awareness Day was scheduled for April 17th, was postponed, and with the hopes for replanning later in the school year. There was also an update from McMaster Children's Hospital Developmental Pediatrics and Rehabilitation Portfolio with regards to Mac Kids Walk and Wheel event taking place in June 4th to 13th. The superintendent brought forward an update with regards to planning for learning supports and services during the period of remote learning. And it feels like it was a much longer meeting, but that concludes, and there was also an overview of the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act as well, where members had the opportunity to ask Trustee Officer Miller questions with regards to the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. So a motion to receive the Special Education Advisory Committee report moved by Trustee Johnstone, seconded by Trustee Deese. Again, this is a monitoring item, and so I'll turn to trustees and student trustees. If you'd like to ask a question or to comment, please unmute yourself and let me know, and I'll add you to the speakers list. Hearing none, is anyone opposed to receiving the report? Hearing none, that passes. Our next item on the agenda, one moment, is item 11, report from Committee of the Whole, private session held earlier this evening. I'll turn to Vice Chair Galindo to bring forward that report.
Thank you. Through the Chair, I bring forward the following recommendations from tonight's Committee of the Whole: that the Finance and Facilities Committee report from April 22nd, 2021 be approved, including that a Human Rights Early Resolution Supervisor position be added for the 2021-2022 budget, that the Human Resources Committee report from April 20th, 2021 be received, and that the tentative collective agreement between the OSSTF, ESL and Structures, District 21, and Hamilton Wentworth District School Board for the term of September 1st, 2019 to August 31st, 2022, be approved and amended as per the School Board's Collective Bargaining Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Galindo. So to the motion to approve the report from the Committee of the Whole, moved by Trustee Galindo, seconded by Trustee Archer. Are there any questions or comments from trustees or student trustees? And to the motion, is anyone opposed? Hearing none, we'll move to item 12, oral reports from liaison committees. For item A, for the City School Board Liaison Committee, I have nothing to report. We have not met since our last meeting. Item B, I'll turn to Vice Chair Galindo for the Hamilton Wentworth Home and School Association.
Thank you. Through the Chair, the Association held a meeting on Thursday, May 13th. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend as I was chairing Finance and Facilities that night. However, the next steps for their annual meeting, which is normally held in May, but delayed due to the pandemic, was discussed at that meeting. They have postponed their annual meeting until after their June meeting. The required 30-day notice of elections was sent out on May 13th, and their next meeting is scheduled for June 10th. And that concludes my brief report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any questions from trustees or student trustees? Our next item is item C, the Hamilton Foundation for Student Success. Trustee Buck?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair Danko. The Hamilton Foundation for Student Success Board of Directors last met in March, and our next meeting is scheduled for June 2nd, so we have not had a meeting since our last board meeting. So tomorrow, May 18th, the Board of Directors will be participating in their first anti-racism, anti-oppression workshop. Through this work, we will be exploring our own biases as well as explore biases within our foundation, the structure of it and the processes, and we'll look to identify strategies to remove and eliminate them. Foundation staff are working with the board on a plan to reintroduce fundraising back into the schools this coming school year. An ad hoc committee comprised of representatives from the foundation, as well as our schools, school councils, and parent involvement committee is currently being created to help inform this plan. The foundation, the schools, and school councils, as well as PIC, is currently being created, and we look forward to sharing with trustees as this plan fully comes to light. Superintendent Estella Jones is supporting the work of the committee. And with that, I have nothing further to add and look to move the report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Hamilton Foundation for Student Success update? And moving on to item D, our Ontario Public School Boards Association oral report from Trustee Johnstone.
Thank you. Through the chair, the number of items to update trustees on. So first noting that OPSBA AGM will be taking place virtually on Saturday, June 12th from approximately 8:45 a.m. till 4 p.m. With keynote speaker Kika Ojo Thompson to kick off the virtual conference. So if trustees are interested in signing up for that, as well as student trustees, there has been a number of emails that have come out from OPSBA, but if you require additional information, you can certainly email me and I'll forward that to you, or you can connect with Trustee Officer Heather Miller. Also, so with regards to a COVID-19 update, stay-at-home order was extended until June 2nd by the province, which requires all school boards to continue with remote learning during this period. There was also an announcement with regards to the youth vaccination plan. So beginning the week of May 31st, youth in Ontario ages 12 to 17 and their family members who have not yet received a vaccine will be eligible to book an appointment to receive their first dose of Pfizer vaccine, including at special dedicated youth and family clinics throughout the weeks of June 14 to 21st. The province will be working with public health units to offer both doses of vaccine to youth aged 12 to 17 at the end of August as well, in collaboration with school boards and other partners. The government says that the rollout will be informed by the work of Children's COVID-19 Vaccine Table and will provide access to multiple channels to support vaccinating this group, including mass vaccination clinics, communities, or school pop-ups and pharmacies. With regards to, recent and current legislation, Bill 228, Building on Opportunities and Skilled Trades Act 2021. This legislation was introduced by the Labour Minister, Monty McNaughton, on June 6th. Proposed amendments include establishing Skilled Trades Ontario, a new Crown agency to replace the Ontario College of Trades, and to streamline apprenticeship training. So information has been sent out through OPSBA and can also be provided on the OPSBA website. Bill 287, Equity Education for Young Ontarians Act 2021. This is a private member's bill that was introduced by Liberal Lucille Collard. The legislation would require the history of colonization and the impact on Indigenous peoples to be included in school curricula from kindergarten to grade 12 in an age-appropriate manner. So currently it is at its first reading. Bill 276, Supporting Recovery and Competitiveness Act 2021. This legislation was introduced by MP Singh Sakara, the Associate Minister of Small Business and Red Tape Reduction. The bill contains changes to 28 acts, including the Education Act, which includes a proposed amendment to reducing, amendment regarding demonstration schools. This bill will be referred to the Standing Committee for public hearings between the dates of May 17th and May 18th. Written submissions are due May 19th. Bill 251, Combating Human Trafficking Act 2021. This legislation was introduced in February by Solicitor General Jones. In addition to this legislation, the Ministry of Education connected with education stakeholders to inform the development of anti-human trafficking policy framework for the provincially funded education sector. And OPSBA's policy development work team met to discuss the questionnaire and how schools play a role in protecting students against human trafficking and how to support survivors. The submission was sent in March of 2021. Bill 216, Food Literacy for Students Act 2021. This legislation was introduced last October by MPP Daryl Cramp. This legislation does not have any public hearing dates set. It was discussed, however, by OPSPA's policy framework development work team, and a submission was sent. OPSPA's PD speaker series is continuing every Thursday, and on this Thursday, May 20th, at noon is the final session, and it is entitled Transitioning from COVID-19 Experience, and it has an opportunity for a discussion forum, as well as it will be led by OPSPA's, OPSPA staff Judith Nyman and researcher David Jack. So if trustees are interested or student trustees, you are welcome to participate. No registration is required. And the Ontario Public Student Trustee Leadership Scholarship. So OPSPA is providing, in its second year, a leadership scholarship, which is awarded jointly by OPSPA as well as OSTEACO. The intent is to recognize outstanding achievement in leadership roles and to provide financial support to a graduating public school board student trustee to assist with their post-secondary education plans, whether it be for university, college, or apprenticeship. The scholarship is based on outstanding innovative accomplishments during the student trustee's term. And so the amount is $500 for each award. There's 2 scholarships, and the deadline is May 24th. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnstone. Are there any questions from trustees or student trustees? Hearing none, I'll just highlight that the youth vaccination plan is exciting news and something that chairs learned more about from the Minister of Education today, and certainly we'll be keeping our families updated as there's further information. Okay, at this time, I will look for a motion to adjourn. I'll have Trustee Mulholland move that, seconded by Trustee Tutt. Is anyone opposed to adjournment? Hearing none. Thank you, trustees and student trustees.
An anonymous participant has left.
Have a good evening.
Left. Left.
Carol Paikin-Miller.
Left. 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 The chairperson has disconnected. The conference will now end.